You're listening to Evergreen Media Network. I am Cindy Schwartz, and this is the Patient Partner Show. We're a podcast on Spreaker, so look us up there. Jeannie Roller is my co-host in Indiana. I am in Florida. Today, Jeannie, I brought this topic to you because I was laughing the whole time I got to the back of the article, and I actually got to the gist of it, if you will, and it didn't surprise me. I wanted it to, but it didn't surprise me. We're talking about hospital gowns. And I did research on it because it's just a different topic, and it's not the outcome that I thought it was going to be. But then when I read what it was, I was like, well, here we go again. So one of the articles was about getting designers, well-known designers, in on the deal of redesigning these hospital gowns. So we all know, anytime you've been a hospital patient or a facility patient or whatever for medical care, the gowns are just, your butt's hanging out. How many jokes, how many TV shows have they done about it? People wear them as Halloween costumes, all kinds of stuff like that with your butt hanging out. So the powers that be, I know one of them was a big nationwide clinic that did it, and they got in on the bandwagon of it and said, okay, we're going to hire these big name designers. One of them was Cynthia Rowley that somebody went to. Another one was Diane von Furstenberg. And then they also had people just submit, if you're an artist or maybe people that were in SCAD, the design colleges and stuff like that, submit ideas, like an open idea kind of a thing. And this has gone on several times. And they came out with gowns. I remember Diane von Furstenberg's gown, the print was beautiful. The access was different. Hers was a deeper V neck, so you didn't have to be exposed. But yet they could pull the gown away from your chest or whatever on a man or a woman and get exposure to, whatever organ they needed or, whatever test they needed to do. And people seemed to like them. And in some instances, people liked them so well, they took them home with them. So the hospitals were like, okay, so now we're getting into the cost of it, because these aren't meant to be souvenirs. We're trying to help people out, trying to help patients out. We've heard that they're freezing, their butts are exposed and blah, 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 blah. And sometimes I know it's happened in my own instance where you're a certain size, say a medium, and they give you like a 2XL, and it's like, what do you do with this? It's like you have a king-size bed sheet wrapped around you, and you're trying to figure out the whole thing, and, it doesn't work. So they had some good ideas. Some of them were like 3-fold ones where you put it in there and lap one side over the other, and people wore warmer, that's a big deal. I mean, to me, we've talked about this so many times, Jeannie Roller, you and I, that when the patient is comfortable, you're going to get a better experience, the patient is, and I think the medical people are going to get better results across the board. I know an article I read quite a while ago, I believe it was a hospital in Texas, and they redesigned gowns for the children, for their pediatric patients, because the children were so difficult to maintain, with them always crying for mom or dad or whatever, which rightfully so. You're scared to death even if you're 80 years old in the hospital. You don't want to be there. So they thought, well, maybe that was one of the things they could address, was the gowns and those situations, and have it more like it was their pajamas, if you will, things like that, to make them more comfortable. So what I'm getting at after all of this is, at the end of the day, when they did do all these design changes and blah, 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 they found, they being the facilities, the big box healthcare and whatever, that it was cost prohibitive and they weren't going to do it. So here we go again. What's good for the patient? Were the patients happier with these other gowns? Yeah, they were. Were they warmer? Yeah. A lot of the studies said that they were. Yes, absolutely. They were like, oh, now they're listening to us finally. We're not walking around with this, seemingly snapped together bed sheet, if you will. You feel very vulnerable. You're freezing to death. People are making fun of you. You don't know what to do. Do you leave your underwear on, take them off, blah, 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 blah. And now we've come up with gowns that are seemingly the patients are given way better reviews to, but we're not going to use those because they're too much money. So that was the end result. And when I read it, I was like, here we go again, Jeannie. So any thoughts on it, Jeannie?
Well, I mean, a lot of times hospitals will give you another gown to wear as a robe. gowns with any metal in it is problematic because of x-rays and stuff that you would have to take that off. So whereas if the gown is made out of non-metal material, like that Diane, the designer, hers had metal in it, so if you went for an x-ray, you couldn't have that gown on at all.
Yeah, the snaps that she used on it. Yeah. Some of them have Velcro on them.
Yeah, but then I was reading the Velcro wouldn't hold up in the laundry.
Right.
So I think that's why you get the tie gowns at the shoulders and the tie gowns at the back too, because they just don't hold up. I know in a lot of times in the UK, they have pajama pants for people to wear, which, I've always wondered, well, if they can do it over there, why can't we? But over here, it seems like our medical people are more in a hurry. They don't want to mess with the little bit of more time that it would take to, uncover from pajama pants. Whereas a gown, they just rip it off of you. So,
well, that's right. That's what I'm thinking. And it's always what I've heard is that what if we need emergency access to you? It's always the bottom line. What if we need emergency access?
2 seconds. 2 seconds isn't going to affect the outcome. So,
right. But that's what I've always heard. I mean, so is that, and again, these are our opinions. We're not doctors. We're not lawyers. But is that the legality aspect of it? Okay, well, you waited 1 minute and 34 seconds. And if it would have been 1 minute, you could have saved the person. And I'm just making this all up. It's just my opinion. But I'm with you. Because of the article that I read about the children, and I believe, like I said, it was a Texas hospital, they felt more comfortable. They felt like there were more. Anything you can do to make the patient more comfortable, in my opinion, as long as it's, still sterile, whatever that has to be, is a win-win. And again, is it the cost? Okay, so how much more money were the designer's gowns? $5, $20? I don't know. They didn't say that. They just said it was cost.
Yeah. Well, they said it roughly, for the hospital, the big hospital system that still uses the designer gowns, it says it costs them about $10 more a piece, but they're okay with that because they have happier patients.
Yeah, okay. So some of them, maybe then they bought into it, but I guess it's always going to be the cost. The happier patients is the big deal.
Yeah. I mean, they pass that cost along anyhow.
Right.
So.
But that's what I was getting at.
Yeah. So I don't really see what it is. I mean, I'm sure in the UK that they have medical emergencies too. So they've actually learned how to deal with the pajama pants. So I don't know why our people over here can't learn how to deal with them.
Well, you know what? And I know TV has made, I don't want to say a mockery of it, and some of it is valid isn't the right word, but some of it will show if you get into an emergency situation, they just cut anything off of you anyway.
Right.
They have the scissors, they just cut it off of you anyway. So how many times does that happen? But I thought it was interesting looking into it, of course, that it was the cost or whatever. But anytime you're happier, it's better for everyone. It's the same as the paper gowns. Is it more money to have paper gowns and disposable as opposed to ones where you actually have to wash them, and the sterility and all that kind of stuff? Certainly the cloth. Anything cloth is going to be softer to you. It's going to be, more like what you wear for your clothing and your pajamas every day, as opposed to, I don't wear paper clothes or paper pajamas, you know what I mean? That kind of thing too.
Yeah. Well, the paper gowns are cheaper. It's easier. They figure, well, you're only going to be in it a short matter of time. So, well.
Right. Yeah. Suck it up. And that's just the way it is. The ones that get me on my final thought is when you go into a procedure and they literally hand you something that looks like, no bigger than 2 paper towels put together, and that's your gown, and, here you go. So anyway, on that note, stay listening to Evergreen Media Network, and hopefully the gown covers everything. Here we go.